everybody say hi to YouTube. We're going to be going over Dev Diary 166 today. And yeah. Let's let me hop on over there. It's us, people staring at who stare at bears. Hate the medieval texts and I love them. Do the fact writing has been no time. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating, and you know, people very rarely wrote just like nonsense. It was an expensive, what's the word? Expensive endeavor. All right, let's go ahead and hop on into this and see what they have. As always, I have not really gone over this. I briefly skimmed it to see how long I'd need in my day. But we'll see. Unfortunately, I cannot read this script. I should at least learn how to phoneticize it. Today we'll be covering some of the extra mechanics that nomads use. We've already talked about the main features in our first Cons of the Steppe Dev Diary, so make sure you take a look at that one first. And I have a video on that one as well, and apologies if I repeat myself. We shall now get into the details. Dominance. As we've mentioned in previous Dev Diaries, nomads have their own mechanics, and when it comes to how they rule, one of the most important is their dominance level. Oh, there's a lot of extra little UI going on here. Okay, so this is fertility, weather. I'm not sure what this is yet. Maybe this is the move button? Interesting. Nomads have to be scary, yes. He has two wolves out of 5. Before I dive into the specifics of each level, it's important to note the nomads have a fixed minimum and maximum domain and vassal limit per dominance level. Oh, this is probably dominance level. That Yo, you weak as wheat. These numbers can be increased only through dominance and yurt buildings, and no skills or lifestyle perks affect it. Fixed minimum and maximum domain and vassal limit, right, they did mention this in the previous Dev Diary. We've also, no skills or lifestyle perks affected is interesting for domain limit. We've also changed the lifestyle trees to better work with nomadic mechanics, but more on that later. Dominance represents a nomadic ruler's perceived power. It can be increased by a prestige cost once the character reaches the necessary herd to unlock the next level. Rulers of Dominance 1 are typically counts, migrate frequency, and has a maximum of 1 vassal and domain limit of 2. Counts have a maximum of 1 vassal? Interesting. Does that include tributaries? At this point, moving to the area with the best fertility or taking over herders' lands is very common. Some may even offer themselves as tributaries to bigger realms to ensure their safety during this critical time. Only the strongest are able to survive. Rulers of Dominance 2 are usually dukes. At this point, their fertility equilibrium is a bit higher, and they can stay in their lands for longer periods of time. They'll simply likely need enough tributaries to continue growing their herd. This is also the moment when a ruler can, if they own a non-nomadic holding, decide to forsake the nomadic ways and become settled. This is one of 3 ways to stop being a nomad. Life on horseback can be so exhausting. Have you seen what it's like in the towns? A soft bed within solid walls, no more saddle sores, No need to constantly on the move, sometimes. It's tempting to get off the saddle and lay down on a mattress. Your domicile buildings are exchanged for gold. Your herd and nomadic horde are exchanged for gold and special soldiers. You adopt the feudal government. The nomadic camp is destroyed. Every nomadic and herder vassals and all tributaries will become independent. Do not have the law unruly nomads. And you hold at least one county with a non-nomadic settlement or herder settlement. Hey Viper, good to see you. You lose all tributaries is rough. And vassals. Rulers of Dominance 3 are typically kings. Although, you know what? Losing tributaries and vassals, I mean, does really match what happens with... I just learned that I've been saying Magyar wrong. Magyar? No, Magyar is something else. Just is what happens with the Hungarian migration. You don't lose non-nomadic vassals. I noticed that as well. Yeah, I did say vassals, didn't I? Rulers of Dominance 3 are typically kings. This is the level that the Khans of Kumania, for example, have on game start. Vassal and domain limits have grown significantly, and now migration can target entire de jure kingdoms. Magyar? No, like, the Hungarian name for themselves. I've always been pronouncing it Magyar, but I think it's, I just heard it pronounced earlier today. I think it's Magyar. It's a much softer G than I would think as an American. Rulers of Dominance 3 are typically kings. This is the level that the Khans of Kumania read that. Vassal and domain limits have grown significantly, and now migration can target entire de jure kingdoms. If you target a kingdom or empire during your migration, however, you must choose which duchy within that title is the one you're aiming for. If you win, you take over the duchy and all lands the previous king held within that de jure title. If your foe held additional outside titles, they would retreat to there. If you target a kingdom, you must choose which duchy within that title is the one you're aiming for. You take the duchy and all lands the previous king held within that de jure title. The de jure kingdom? Or the de jure duchy? After successfully migrating thusly, you'll get access to the Expanded Dominance CB, which lets you de jure shift additional lands. Special war for nomadic rulers for either an area within their de jure lands or to expand their de jure area to new frontiers. All nomadic rulers of a duchy tier or higher can start the war within their de jure. On a victory, they'll attempt to either vassalize the defender or force them to become a tributary, or conquer their lands altogether if they hold land outside the target lands of the war. To expand their dominion to foreign lands, a nomadic ruler has to be of kingdom tier or higher. On victory, they'll still attempt to vassalize, tributize, or conquer the lands, but the lands will also immediately shift de jure to the primary title of the nomadic ruler. Interesting. Rulers of Dominance 4 are akin to empires. At this level, migration can target empires. Understandably so. However, rulers of this high dominance level don't tend to migrate at all. They get most of their herd through tributaries, and their fertility has reached a comfortable level where the herd can steadily grow through holding their vast territory. It is at this point that a piazza system can be established, and access to the Overrun Kingdom CB is granted. Piazza system. Piazzas were the mark of trust of a great Khan. They were given to their loyal merchants and used to ensure safe travel through the Great Steppe. Okay, I'm not familiar with the term, familiar with the concept. Granting piazzas is a great way to make characters obedient and allows for the summon wealthy visitors decision, where you can invest some gold to get special artifacts, even more gold, improvements to your nomadic herd, or random innovation progress. In other words, the Khanate immediately inherits those lands. Yeah, I'm thinking so. Piazzas are not... Yeah. I'm like that. I think I was thinking... I don't know. My brain took it as Italian, and I got really confused. However, characters in possession of a piazza can use the leverage the Khan's authority interaction to make a different character obedient to them, or abuse the Gurkhan's authority through a decision that extracts fertility from everyone's lands to increase their own prestige and gold. But the Khan may hear of these infractions and take matters into their own hands, gaining an imprisonment, execution, and banishment reason on their previously favored character. Magyar? Pronouncing it with that is apparently hard because it takes a very precise tongue placement. Fair enough. I mean, I'm more than happy if I can get, like, halfway there. The effects of piazza investments can be increased through yurt buildings at the capital. It said it's close to Magyar? Huh. I mean, it's very possible the person I was hearing it from earlier was saying it wrong as well. System of special tablets shall be established to foster foreign trade and empower the Khan's subjects. He who carries a piazza that bears the name of the Khan will carry my authority and have safe passage through my lands. Those dare disrespect my name will be put to death like dogs. Great Steppe is far more magnificent than those fat, spoiled foreign cities, yet they possess goods, contraptions, and ideas that may prove useful to us. Perhaps one of their wealthy fools will venture this far. The equivalent of establishing client duchies? I'm not sure if that's the case. I think this is... I took this as more akin to appointing a vizier. But you can do it multiple times. And obviously with different scope, but... The Overrun Kingdom CB is the second path that nomads can follow to stop being nomadic. This CB can target any settled kingdom title, and if the war is won, will grant the target title to the attacker, who also converts to feudalism, clan, or tribal. Seize all territories within the realm belonging de jure to the target title. One of these becomes your capital, a number convert to your culture and faith, and you become feudal. Okay. Pretty self-explanatory. But coming back to dominance, alright, fair enough. Oh, Cho-sama laugh. Hello, Fusion. Welcome. Dominance 5 is the highest level of them all and can only be attained by the Gurkhan. That is, the ruler who possesses the largest herd of the entire Great Steppe. Take target kingdom to be you. Yeah, exactly. At this point, the Gurkhan can take the decision to become the greatest of Khans, should they fulfill that decision's steep requirements. In a later Dev Diary, we'll explore this further. For now, we'll let you know that the greatest of Khans is set up to both conquer the world and switch their government type without having to leave the Great Steppe. Greatest of Khans is set up well to both conquer the world and switch their government type without having to leave the Great Steppe. Cool. Change your dominance to unrestricted. Oh, and here's the horse, wolf, raptor of some kind. Aurochs? Wolf again? I don't know if there's a lot of logic. I'm not seeing the logic behind the different symbols, but... Reform the Great Cognate. Yeah, there it is. I know this G in particular, the pronunciation's a little weird, but I have trouble wrapping my mouth around it. Which I assume is the become non-nomadic decision, very likely. Dominance also affects migration range, with higher dominance rulers being able to travel further while migrating. Migration is not the only way to increase your tier. Nomads can also use the dominate title decision to create the de jure title of their own territory. They just need to fight everyone in the desired area. It's time to prove my dominance over the area and subjugate those who live here. All will be trampled under our hooves as we take what is rightfully ours. Start a domination war over the kingdom. Every non-tributary and non-ally de jure county holder of the kingdom will join him as a defender. That's powerful. Just a one-time war for the entire kingdom is really something. Dominating a title replaces regular title creation for nomads. In the steppe, no amount of document fabrication will prove that a title belongs to you. Only fighting everyone in the area will. We've already talked about county fertility in our first Dev Diary, but we've not yet explained fertility equilibrium. I have a few assumptions what that means, but... equilibrium is the prediction of how fertile a country will become over time. It's where the fertility growth and consumption meet. Exactly. It can be affected by terrain type, seasons, cool-tide tasks, and the holder's learning skill. Fight time, we don't care about your papers, yeah. Equilibrium is higher the bigger your domain is, representing your herd traveling through different counties to graze, rather than just being confined to just one county. This means that higher dominance rulers are able to live a more settled life within the steppe, without having to abandon their nomadic ways. A county will always tend towards its equilibrium, which means that it will grow until it reaches it or decrease if the current value is higher. That's how equilibriums work in Paradox games. It trends towards that number. The current county fertility modifier represents the tendencies of the county towards reaching equilibrium. Growth, whatever these modifiers are, maybe these are characters, or counselors perhaps. Manage fertility, no, this is a counselor task. Steppe season. Held counties from domain learning rules the deep steppe. Oh yes, a paradox equilibrium. Yeah. Like you say equilibrium, I know what you mean. I've played these games before, guys. County control slows down the rate at which fertility grows by a percentage equal to the current control. So the fertility growth will only be optimal when control is at 100%. To address control, we've introduced settlement issues. That's unreasonably funny to me. We've introduced settlement issues. Okay. After migrating, either peacefully or not, nomads will be greeted with some contracts regarding the problems presented by moving to a new area. These contracts will usually help increase the county control, which allows for a better fertility extraction and a much calmer life. I need equilibrium now. Local governance? These contracts have 3 possible tiers as usual and some extra rewards. Disagreeable herders. County control will change. Gain herd. Gain fertility. After settling down in Karat Sagan, we've had several conflicts with a group of local herders, according to Meg2. Their provocations have gone on for too long. It's time to put an end to this unrest. Nomads live in the Great Steppe, divided in 3 regions: Western, Central, and Eastern. Each of these regions has its own active season, which may or may not differ from one another. Always heard, but never seen. That sounds like herders, actually, yes. Seasons affect the fertility of the region, but they also offer modifiers to how people and even animals behave, with additional effects on subjects, warfare, herd, and characters. Interesting. There are 2 good seasons, 3 bad, 1 especially good, and 1 quite bad, all of which are reflected in the map visuals. Ooh. Current season, Everlasting Summer. Stargazer affects your chance of prediction. If I remember correctly, the Gurkhan is shown down here. 3 regions are shown up here. Looks like the East and West have the same. Is it East, West, and Central? Yeah. And the Central Steppe has some sort of winter. Abundant grazing offers 25% fertility growth to any county in the region. It's a calm time and rulers are generally happier, with increased vassal opinion and more herd given out using the demand herd character interaction. Men-at-arms are also cheaper to maintain by 20%, as food supplies are well stocked, and hunts are 50% cheaper to host. Everlasting Summer represents the perfect climate for the land. It's a time of leisure and abundance that brings 75% fertility growth. Supply limit in the Great Steppe is also 50% larger, and vassals and tributaries both have an increased opinion and increased herd contribution based on their contracts. Excuse me. The severe drought is the first of the bad seasons. Fertility consumption is increased by 20%. However, this means that people are more willing to migrate, and every courtier will increase their opinion of you after a peaceful migration. Rulers are also more likely to accept a peaceful migration request during this time, and the Conquer CB gives out prestige in the steppe, which they normally don't. Herd gain is slower, and so is their conversion into horde riders, as more resources are needed for the same result. I think it's a me problem, but it is unfortunate that the words horde and herd are very close and used in the same sentence frequently when talking about this DLC. Drought reflected on the map. Looks dry. Makes sense. During Zood season, the weather is especially adverse, which pushes characters to seek protection from stronger and more resourceful nomads. During these seasons, the demand obedience and demand as tributary character interactions have a higher acceptance chance. Eastern Steppe, demand obedience, yep, as you said. It's a puppy dog. Characters are also slightly more likely to gain the ill trait. Zud Zud. Put on your Zud suit. A cold Zud brings strong winds and blizzards. The extremely low temperature forces the livestock to use most of their energy to keep warm. A white Zud occurs when the snow settles over the grazing lands, making it impossible for the livestock to reach the grass. This is reflected by a 20% increase in fertility consumption. The retaliation CB, given when someone moves into your tributary's lands but refuses to pay you tribute, is free, and upgrading your horde riders into better men-at-arms is cheaper. However, the supply limit is smaller. Breaking open a cold Zud with the boys. A Haversarzen Zud is the combination of 2 or more types of natural disasters. It's a time of great adversity, with grazing land impossible to find and hardships in every possible direction. County fertility is gone, but that doesn't mean you're out of options. Demanding tributary still has a higher acceptance chance, and the desperate times decision becomes available. In it, you can pay some prestige and make all of your people obedient, as well as unlocking the Invasion CB to try to get you out of the steppe, no matter your situation. Retaliation and Humiliation CBs used against a nomadic ruler of higher dominance than you are free, and characters have a 30% increased stress gain. Fascinating. Yeah, I mean, fertility growth is minus 300, consumption is plus 100. Fertility is gone. It's basically a get out of the steppe now. It's basically a settled peoples piss themselves. Every nomadic vassal becomes obedient, every courtier becomes obedient, you can use the Invasion CB. The other special season is the Blessing of the Blue Sky, which is much nicer to everyone involved. During a blessing, fertility grows with a 300% increase. Supply limit is 100% higher, tributaries and vassals have a better opinion of their overlords, and characters have a 25% less stress gain. We've nudged these seasons so they're more likely to happen after the Mongol invasion of China and the Mongol invasion of Europe, as climate change was one of the factors that drove them out of the steppe. They can only happen once in the entire game, and their chances also grow each 100 years after each game's start date. Interesting. It matters not if the 10 years of the previous season haven't concluded. These seasons will take over whenever they reach their turnover point and propagate to all regions. If you are blessed, you can grow an enormous herd that will help you take over the world. If you encounter a Harvastian Zud, you will soon discover that the only possible way is out. It's one really shitty winter season, one really great summer one. Yeah, that's how I'm taking it too. Rulers will also try to migrate to other regions if the local season is much better than theirs, and they have the necessary resources. Stargazer, we have seen before a little bit, one of the main tools that nomadic rulers have when it comes to predicting upcoming seasons. This court position also acts as a substitute to the court chaplain, as they have been replaced by the Kulatai, and can help guess what the next season is based on their aptitude. Everlasting Summer or Abundant Grazing. However, if the Stargazer's aptitude is poor, there's chance that they will predict 2 entirely wrong seasons, or 1 right and 1 wrong. Their reasoning is unpredictable. They come with 2 court position tasks: oversee preparations and guide shepherds. Oversee preparations is a bit of a special one, and its effects change based on season, as they're trying to ensure the best possible outcome. Therefore, they may help manage fertility during a cold Zud, or increase piety during a blessing. Makes sense? The Guide Shepherd's task helps herder subjects gain the Seasoned Pastoralist trait, which increases the rate at which they replenish fertility if they're held counties. Interesting. That seems very, very particular? My music die? Yes. YouTube, I'm trying my best here. Kurutai Succession. All nomads have a unique and new succession law, the Kurutai. Oh no, not the Kumans? The most dreaded of spices, it's true. During the Kurutai succession, your 2 eldest children of eligible gender and the 4 members of your Kurutai will either approve or disapprove of your choice of heir. Their approval depends on whether they are obedient or not. So ensuring an obedient Kulatai should be among your highest priorities if you're aiming for smooth succession. During a stable succession, all of your titles go to your preferred heir with no partition or consequences. Or harsh consequences, actually. Well, I wonder if there are consequences suddenly. Stable succession. Preferred successor. 3 approve, 0 oppose. And you do get to see this beforehand, which is good. If one or more members of your Kurultai are not obedient, you will be facing a chaotic succession instead. The consequences are unpredictable, but they go from losing some legitimacy or prestige, to one of your vassals stealing part of your land, to even a realm fractioning disaster like the splitting of the Great Mongol Empire. Only one approves. The consequences are not completely arbitrary, though, and they scale with your title tier, realm size, and the number of your disobedient Kurultai members. So if you're a duke with only one disobedient member, you'll not be punished as severely as a hated emperor. Chaotic succession. +1 disobedient. Heard losses, defecting courtiers, lost levels of fame, or tributaries breaking free. 2+, significant disorder, large herd losses, land loss, lost gold, or major legitimacy hits. Half or more, enormous herd loss, realm splitting in half, or even dissolving completely. At least one of these exists. You must be experience the Haravastian Zud, you have disobedient Kulatais, or you have empty positions. But the ruling dynasty's recent manifestation protects them from disobedient Kulatais during succession. If the season is Harvastian Zud, the realm's stability is shaken and the succession will always be chaotic. Yes. Some medium consequences. Lost 500 gold? Is that gold? Did they change the icon for gold for different parts of the map? You decreased your legitimacy level to illegitimate, and Kutan lost 50 opinion of you. My brother Apak was slain in a duel. The dawn of my rule breaks. The disunited voices of the Kulatai echo over the endless steppe. They are all laughing at me, calling me friendless. They say that I am weak, unsuitable to be Khanum. My arigmatic Kulatai member Kutan is laughing louder than the rest. How dare they insult my might? Some harsher consequences. My father Saru was slain in a duel. The dawn of my rule breaks. The disunified voices of the Kulatai echo over the endless steppe. The verdict is clear. The lion's share of our lands is mine. The rest falls to my obnoxious brother. May he rot in Atbasar. Nomadic lifestyle trees. Yes, these have to be different. Some changes were done to the lifestyle trees to make sure the perks could be adapted to the nomadic government and its needs. I apologize in advance for the ugly changelog, but this is easier and more to the point than me writing complicated explanations for it all. Fine by me. Diplomacy added fellow tributary opinion and fellow confederation member opinion to defensive negotiations. Added increased aptitude to Boyan Cherby court positions in Praetorian Guard. Added renown if you have a blood brother to inspiring rule. Added increased acceptance to demand as tributary and offer confederation to true ruler. Monthly prestige per blood brother to bound in blood. If you have a blood brother, you get 1 extra random skill point from family council. Cool. Friendly council, excuse me. Added Horde Riders bonus for organized retreat. Added Horde Riders bonus for hit and run. Made nomads able to duel rivals from the get-go. Getting bonuses to what are still essentially fancy levies is kind of big. Made nomads able to duel rivals from the get-go. Changed Stalwart Leader so it allows nomads to duel any non-close family member. Family member martial gender character? Duel any non-close family member martial gender. Got it. Okay. It allows you to duel anyone who is not a close family member and is a gender that your religion considers allowed to lead armies. That took me a minute. Made loyalty and respect increase obedience of spouse and vizier. Added a discount to converting Horde Riders to MAAs for prepared conscription. Add a discount to converting to men-at-arms for prepared conscription. Right. This is a little... Whew. Okay. Tributary taxes to Hair Guild. Domicile herd gain to detailed ledgers. I'm gonna go fast on these. If you need to... If you're watching YouTube or you're watching on Twitch, if you need to go to YouTube and pause to go over these or go to the exact thing, feel free. The image of converting Horde Riders into mixed martial artists is very funny. Slip of the tongue, what can I say? Changed cutting cornerstones to cutting wood and added a 10% discount for domicile buildings. Added domicile building speed bonus to professional workforce. Added herd gain to centralization. Interesting. Right, because they don't have development. Added herd to horde conversion in organized muster rolls, changed large levies to planned herd, and increased income from herd and herd from vassals, tributary opinion to likable, happy powerful vassal herd contribution to honor to serve, as well as higher obedience from counselors, added tributary opinion to administrator. Intrigue has not changed much. Added bonus to the capture raid intent for kidnapper, makes sense. Added herd gained from intimidated cowed vassals in fear tax. Then learning. Religious icon makes obedient characters converted via the... Made religious icon make obedient characters converted via the inspire conversion interaction. Can be converted via the inspire conversion interaction? Is that what they're saying? This might be I can't tell if this is a typo. Zealous Proselytizer increases the acceptance for the Inspire conversion interaction. Right? It didn't already do that? Oh, Inspire conversion. Oh, make obedient characters be converted via the Inspire okay. Inspire conversion as opposed to forced conversion. Also increases the piety gain from aid Stargazer task by 10%. Plant cultivation increases fertility growth. Yeah, obedient characters get converted by Inspire conversion. And Wandering. Change development for county fertility gain when hosting activities with no stone unturned. Change souvenirs aplenty for changing of the seasons. And added fertility and control bonuses wherever the seasons change. Of the people increases the speed of the Explore Cultures Kulatai task. Cool. Oh, nomadic legitimacy is different. Oh, this is the nomadic legitimacy icon. It wasn't money earlier. Nomads have a new legitimacy type which differs in some ways from the settled one. The first big difference is that while settled legitimacy is much nicer to lower tiers, it really does, allowing Count and Dukes to get bonuses in the first levels. Nomadic legitimacy is the same for all tiers, representing the harsher judgments of the steppe. However, we've made the way of obtaining and losing it to also be in accordance with the nomadic way of life. Nomadic rulers gain double legitimacy from winning wars, but they also lose double on defeat. Ooh. They'll gain legitimacy from duels and marrying noble-born courtiers of someone of equal or higher dominance. This is great. This marrying noble-born courtiers, giving legitimacy is great. I always felt like marrying up as a feudal ruler should increase your legitimacy. Or, you know, for example, if you just usurped the Kingdom of France and you marry a daughter of a previous king of France, you should get increased legitimacy for that. That should legitimize your rule. Literally. Nomadic legitimacy also affects tributary and confederation acceptance, as well as herd gain and tributary opinion. The effects on CB costs in creating new titles have been removed, as nomads get CB discounts from seasons, and they do not create higher tier titles the usual way, but through the dominate title decision. Makes sense. Nomadic factions. Peasants and populous factions do not make much sense within the steppe. Instead, there will be nomadic factions. These factions can happen to any type of ruler, settled or nomad, but they're more likely for settled rulers. They are very powerful, comparable to populist armies, composed of nomadic riders, horse archers, and other nomadic men-at-arms. Similarly to peasant factions, their discontent will always rise, and fast. The goal is to make it unattractive for settled rulers to hold nomad lands. Thank you. This has been a problem since the beginning, as they will be attacked by revolting nomads on a semi-regular interval. Feudalizing the holdings will be critical to stop this. Of course, defeating them will pacify their lands for a while. Let me hit snooze on this ad that's coming up, since it looks like we're pretty close to the bottom. If a nomadic faction is successful, they will rip any duchy that a county part of the faction... Any duchy that had a county part of the faction out from your realm. Word missing. And each of them will be granted a new nomadic ruler generated. They will rip any duchy that had a county that was part of the faction out from your realm, and each of them will get a new nomadic ruler generated. Okay. I got it. We decided that most vassal stances made little sense for nomadic people, so we've added a new one called belligerent, more commonly found within the steppe. Belligerent vassals want to see their liege as a powerful and strong leader and enjoy shows of both physical and military might. They seek examples of authority from their liege. They often partake in tournaments to witness the liege's prowess feats firsthand. Nomads have a higher chance of adopting this vassal stance. They like when their liege has high dominance, organizes grand tournaments and wins contests, organizes hunt activities, wins duels, and demands obedience. They dislike when their liege loses duels, has low obedience, or has any partitioned succession laws. They prefer bold and wrathful heirs with high prowess skill. Thanks for reading and getting to the depths of the steppe with us. Next Dev Diary will go over the flavor and warfare of the Great Steppe, so those of you watching on YouTube, look forward to that next week. I am really hype about the Nomad faction. Really hype about the Nomad faction. Everything else is just kind of follows logically for me. It's not something I'm excited or disappointed about. It's, Kulatai Succession sounds really interesting, and potentially dangerous. The seasons sound really interesting. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about those until we play through them. Yeah, and everything else just kind of follows fairly logically to what I would expect to be going on here. Seems solid. Want to see the Khan become Emperor of Japan? True, true. True, true, true. Alright. I'm gonna chat with you all on Twitch for a little bit. Those of you on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. How did you get this far without subscribing? Shame on you. You should also press like button. I'm such a sellout. But you have to say it for reasons. That's YouTuber law. And I will see you all next week. Bye.